What?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. We'll highlight all that. Don't you worry.
I'm just
But of
saying,
course,
you gotta remind people. You want to get
Subscribe right now.
subscribe.
subscribe. Of course.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Some other really good photos. This is me at Chef Mickey's when I was like 4 with my sister and Judy. Mom. This was me.
You were a cute kid.
I was fucking cute. I don't know what happened. Actually,
I don't know what happened.
Kay makes fun of me. She's like, you went through like 3 puberties. Like you were cute at like 5, and then you got like you look like I kind of sort of look like Coconut Head for a little bit in like very like late elementary school. Then I was like cute late middle school, early high school, and then I really hit my puberty because I went from like skinny fucking like zitty kid all over to like muscular football player, and then I just lost it all.
Muscular. All right. I don't know about that. Relax.
Hey, bro, I was pretty timid. This is when I was 2 years old.
You were a big kid.
I was a big kid, actually. I was a very big kid.
You're not that tall, though.
No, I'm only 5'9".
Yeah, nah. See, I tower over you. Yeah, you were.
Yeah, no, you know what it is? I was a big kid like early on. Like I was taller than everybody else. I was bigger than everybody else.
Yeah.
But I was always like a fucking building, and then just like I don't know. I stopped growing after like I don't know 8th grade, 9th grade. I just like didn't really have it. My friend Jack was like 5'4" in high school, and then had a growth spurt like junior year, and is now like 6'1". And like towers over me, but like I don't know. It's kind of embarrassing because my cousins are also really tall. Like my grandpa is like, I think my grandpa was like 6'1", and then my cousins are like 6'3", 6'4". Like it's fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I clearly got my dad's genes and just didn't get any height on me, unfortunately. So what are you gonna do? But like it's so funny how I changed from this like cute little kid to I got like ugly, and then I got cute again. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm ugly now by any means, but
I mean, your grandfather did say you have a face for radio.
He did say that, yes. And also, when I was
grandfathers do not lie.
No, dude. All right. Here, so this is a great story. You knew that I ran track in high school, right?
You ran track in high school?
Yeah. So I started. You okay?
What'd you say?
He was the fastest motherfucker out there. No, I was after I had my knee surgery my junior year, I couldn't play football anymore at all. So I then turned to track to try and rehab it a little bit, and I started getting into like throwing because naturally, big guy, made sense. By the end of my junior year, though, the sprinting coach came over to me, and my friend Mike, who was also he was probably the best sprinter at the school at the time. They were like, hey, like we know you're pretty quick, you're agile, you used to run pretty well in football. Because I think like back in football, I used to run. I had like a 5.140. Like I actually ran really fucking fast when I was like skinnier. I was actually a pretty built up guy. Just because when you're playing football, you're working out constantly for 2.5 hours a day. So an hour and a half in the weight room, hour on the field. Like I was yoked. By the end of junior year, though, I started to kind of lose it because I started to my same eating habits continued. I wasn't working out nearly as much. I gained a lot of weight, but I was still at least agile enough to run. So my senior year, I was a sprinter, and I was like 240 pounds going into my senior year. And I come home and I go, Grandpa, I'm going to do sprints. And he goes, I've never in my entire life seen a 240-pound sprinter as big as you. And I was like, oh, you just wait and see. My first meet, I'm racing one of the last heats with a bunch of guys from my school, a bunch of the really slow guys. My coach hadn't seen me run competitively against anybody. I was lined up next to my good friend Sean, who's going to be at the wedding next month, and I beat him by 0.2 seconds.
Wow.
And this kid was way skinnier and smaller than me. I beat kids who were like sticks. How they didn't beat me? After the meet, the sprinting coach calls all of us over and he goes, guys, great meet. You all did really good. To those of you who ran slower than Steve, you need to fucking work out. And he said it more. I don't know if he said it as a joke or the fact that I was just this big fat guy who's having to run faster than everybody else. It was quite the experience. But yes, I was a sprinter, and my grandpa called me out for it immediately. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, we were all athletes back in the day, so.
Yeah, we can't all be fucking huge vein poppers like you now.
Dude, my veins are popping now.
I've seen you send me the photos as if you're fucking sending me porn in the group chat. You're like, yo, look at his veins.
Oh my god.
And I'm like, yeah, bro, congratulations. You have fucking big arms.
So so basically, since you gave your soliloquy, I'll give you mine.
Okay.
Since we're on the topic of my veins at this point, so
were you a really small kid growing up and you use that as motivation to get big?
No, that's not the reason why. Like, I was always really short. What'd she say?
She's like, no.
No, I mean, look, like,
your ass.
I was definitely short for sure for a long time, and then hit a really big growth spurt. And I'm really not that tall still. I'm 5'11" and a half.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with someone the other night, and they were like, "You have to be at least 6 foot. You need to measure yourself again." I was like, "No, I'm telling you, I'm really not that tall." But no, I started working out a lot because I got hurt in college, and so because I ended up I took weightlifting my senior year, and of high school, and I only did that because it was either that or some environmental science class, and I was like, I'm taking weightlifting instead. And so I did that. And what's that?
It's kind of elite, honestly, if you ask me.
It was great. I took 4 classes, and one of them was weightlifting. It was the first period of the day. And I did learn a lot, but I wasn't really into it. And then I got hurt playing basketball, and then I was like, all right, I need to start taking working out more seriously, because my form of exercise was literally playing other sports. And I really was not in good shape at all. I was 100. I was the same height, and which is 5'11", and I was 165 pounds. And I ended up just working out, and then eventually I started to learn more just through being at Presbyterian and then being at Xavier and just having good people around me. And then I enjoyed looking good, and I've always just enjoyed being the most fit one out there, because you've seen golfers, they're not really they don't really look like physical specimens unless you're Tiger Woods. Like Tiger Woods was 6'2" and 220 and jacked. He looked like a linebacker. The guy's a physical freak. And so really that's really what got me into it. And then, I was working out, I was doing specific workouts this year, but after Q school, I was 180 pounds. And so the most I've ever weighed was probably 210. And that was my first year as a pro, and my diet sucked. And so then the guy who fixed my ankle gave me some workouts to do, and I did them, and I changed my diet big time, and I progressively just lost more and more weight. And I was like, all right, I went from a large to a medium. Now the mediums are too big. This is crazy. I was getting to the point where I was becoming a small.
Oh my God.
A small medium, and I was just I literally just bought all these shirts, and now they're getting too big, and I was like, this is crazy. I can't I'm gonna keep I lost so much weight. I was like, I can't keep doing this. And so I just didn't I didn't feel right. I didn't feel good. And the last couple weeks I had looked into some alternatives because I can't have red meat. That's one of the things I'm not to have based on my diet, which red meat is instrumental when it comes to muscle growth. And it has, red meat contains creatine, which salmon does too, which I eat a lot of that, but I was losing a source of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I started taking creatine, and I changed up my workouts to more a little more strength based, and not just so basic. And so I've gained probably 10 pounds back in 3-ish weeks, 3-4 weeks, which is really good. But like this is like I just like it's weird. I don't know why, but like my left arm is very veiny compared to my right, and I think a lot of it has to do. You have the stupidest look in your face. I already know what you're thinking.
You're trying to think back to a conversation we had about a week ago.
You're a child.
Oh, come on.
Oh, you
My
froze.
left arm is way veinier than my right. Well, wonder what could be the cause of that one.
But I'm not a lefty.
I know, which is why I'm thinking, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense now.
Because here's why. I think it's because that's my lead arm when I swing.
Right, so a lot of power generation.
Pounding against the ground so much. And I do think part of it is like when I work out, I keep my watch on, and like, you know, that can like kind of squeeze that can kind of squeeze your wrist area too. And so I think that might have something to do with it. But like, yeah, like even like my old trainer from high school, he like, I sent him, I think you saw it on my Instagram story, like my, my like pre-impact position with like my left arm veins.
Yeah.
He asked me if it was AI. And I was like, no, it's not. I said, I promise you it's not AI. Like that's what my left arm looks like.
The day that Ben Pirro figures out how to use Photoshop to add veins to his arms is the day we all die.
And so then like, cause then he saw me like that night, cause he was working on my back and neck for me. And he was just like, he's like, look at my arm. He's like, how do you get them to look like that? I was like, dude, like, I do like a lot of like grip strength and stuff. Like I have like a circuit that I do whenever I do upper body, which is just twice a week now. And like I do wrist curls and stuff. And then like when you lose like a lot of fat, like you're gonna look a lot more lean and stuff. So yeah. It's bizarre, but like I've gotten a lot of compliments recently on how I've looked. Like I dropped my car off because my car almost blew up on me. 100%.
Store for the other day.
Yeah. Well, you know, I got it serviced, and then you know the coolant light came on, and I'm thinking to myself, well, what the hell? And then the engine started to overheat. So, and they could smell it. They like knew I was there for my coolant, and I didn't even have an appointment. But I got out of the car, and the guy's like, he's like, man, you look good. I'm like, thanks, dude, appreciate that. So, you know,
man looks good in the car with a fucking ticking time bomb. I fucking love it. All right, let's get into the good.
Get in the Hole is brought to you by PHI Apparel Company, our incredible merch partners. PHI Apparel Co. provides unique designs and high-quality clothing from t-shirts to hoodies for every golfer around. With their original designs for all, there's no doubt you'll stand out on the course, the driving range, or at the 19th hole. Go to phiapparel.co and use code UNDERGROUND at checkout for 10% off any order. That's code UNDERGROUND at phiapparel.co and grab exclusive Get in the Hole podcast merch and support your favorite golfers.
Hello, friends. Welcome in to Get in the Hole with Steve McAvoy, Ben Pirro, here with you today on a Monday. We're back with another week on the PGA Tour, coming to you live from the Underground, a part of Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast network on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you can get a hold of Mr. Vainboy here and myself, bringing you all the news, analysis, and betting tips from across the golfing world, including the PGA, LPGA, Corn Ferry, and LIVGolf tours, which might not exist for much longer. We'll see. Proudly presented by some of the best sponsors in the biz, including, and most importantly, our good friends at Tomahawk Shades. We're wrapped by some of the biggest names in the world of sports, including Chris Hogan, Dan Descalso, John Jay, Jazz Chisholm, and of course, golf's very own Paige Baranek. Tomahawk Shades is guaranteed to get you looking fresh from the first tee to the 18th green, now offering small batch headwear, amongst everything else that you need for your winter grind. Snow goggles are on the rise. Get out to the peaks, get the Tomahawk Shades. And of course, when you're off the slopes and in the lodge, you can grab your own pair of shades, whether it be blue light glasses, prescription lenses, or of course, the patented sunglasses. They are going to keep you looking great all day long and all night, especially. Go to TomahawkShades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app on the App Store, Google Play Store, and browse their selection of shades today. Use code USP for 25% off your next order. Again, code USP for 25% off your first order at TomahawkShades.com and the Tomahawk Shades app. We jump deep. We jump into the deep end as we start today and every day. We have a little bit of politics going on in the world of golf, and it's not anything. It's funny. It's the cross section of sports and culture to an extent. I'm not going to try and push this onto a political side of things, but of course, it's something that's worth noting. I saw an article, or actually a TikTok post. I was led by an article by Dan Rappaport, who talked about how with Donald Trump winning the election, there's actually a really good possibility that the PGA Tour PIF merger comes to fruition a lot faster. And we'll get into more of the reasons in my side, but I want to get your take here. The whole point is that Donald Trump's administration, of course, Donald Trump is a very big golfer, a golf fan, someone who's been even pre-framework said, hey, like, go to live now before you miss out on the millions of dollars and lose out on your chance to make some money, because eventually you're going to end up being with nothing. He's commended guys like Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka and Jon Rahm for joining LIV. He's been well known to speak with LIVGolf. He's hosted many events at Bedminster, down in Miami-Dade, up in New Jersey, so on. So there's ties between Donald Trump and LIVGolf, as well as the Saudi Arabians. Now back in his second stint as president and head, technically, of the Department of Justice, which falls under the executive branch of government, aka the president's desk. There's a good chance that a merger very well could happen much sooner than later. Do you think that Trump's presidency might possibly lead with this once they enter in on January 20th? We said hopefully by the end of the year there'll be something, but could very well see something in the early stages of the Trump second term.
Well, I certainly hope not, because I think we have more pressing issues on who's going to play what professional golf tournaments when these guys are already worth millions and millions of dollars. But if that is the case, if there's one president who would do this, it would be him, because he does love golf and he has hosted LIV events. He's been seen rubbing shoulders with Greg Norman. I believe it was Greg Norman. He was in one of Bryson's Breaking 50 videos, I think. He's obviously, he's a big golf fan for sure. At the end of the day, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this ended up getting resolved much more quickly than we would expect. I just hope not, because I think we have much more serious issues that have to be addressed first than professional golf. Because I think overall this year, given everything that went on, professional golf was okay. I think it was pretty much okay. Is the viewership down? Yes. Is the interest down? Yes. But that's because the superstars aren't here anymore. People don't realize, though, a lot of those superstars that left for LIV will not be competitive once they go back to the PGA Tour. They're older. Okay, I think, was this the second or the third year of LIV? This was second, right?
Third.
This is the third year of LIV. Okay, that's a long time for a professional athlete. Okay, and so Dustin Johnson has not really done a whole lot when he's had the cameras on him. Okay, Jon Rahm will come back. If Jon Rahm came back, yeah, he'd be a stud for sure in a heartbeat. He'd pick up right where he left off, I'm sure. But Cam Smith has been kind of irrelevant. Even when he went to LIV, when he first went over there, he really didn't play that well at all. And he got a pretty big contract because he won the Open Championship. And so I think, guys like Lee Westwood or Graham McDowell or, guys like that who are just they're already past their prime. Ian Poulter, they're already past their prime. And so it's not like they were really going anywhere. And so a lot of those household names, I'm sure Bryce would be very good. But at the end of the day, Brooks would probably be the same. He would probably be really good in the majors. And then he probably would not care about the other events, because we know he's only motivated by the majors. That's really the case. That's the honest truth. And so, I don't know. I think the game of golf, I think the PGA Tour in general would gain a lot if this were to happen. as quickly as some people think it could. But I don't think it's going to be as I don't think it's going to move the needle as much as one might think. I think it's pretty obvious Dustin Johnson's not the same player he was when he went to LIV, based on his finishes. He's completely irrelevant, and whenever he plays in a major, he's really not in contention at all. And he largely played well, and along with other players. So I think it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, it does get resolved, but at this point, number one, I'm not holding my breath. Number two, there are much more serious issues we have to address first.
Yeah, so it's funny. There's actually like a lot of moving pieces to all of this. And last week, obviously, we didn't know what the results were, being that we recorded on Monday. We didn't know until Wednesday morning who had won the presidency. But this definitely adds a new wrench into things. And for the longest time, the question was, oh, the DOJ is an entity that probably wouldn't want to pass a merger like this because a investment of this magnitude would most certainly be violating some sort of antitrust law. Whether or not now the Trump presidency changes that, I don't really know. I feel like the DOJ is going to chase after what they truly believe in and not necessarily just blindly follow the president. Of course, and here comes my government lesson for you guys. What used to be an issue of Congress getting involved in antitrust law, the DOJ, which is headed by the executive branch, which is directly correlated to the presidential office, and his cabinet are officially the backbone of all this happening. So there could very well be a push through from the executive branch. Congress would still probably get involved, being that there is a whole entire committee for antitrust. But according to guys like Rory McIlroy, with Donald Trump and the alleged rise of Elon Musk joining his cabinet, who apparently is also an avid fan of golf and wants to possibly rub shoulders with the PIF to get investment for Tesla and his other ventures in Saudi Arabia. There's a lot of conflicts of interest that are going on right now, and it's very compelling to me to see that you could very well see this go through very early on. Maybe not through Trump directly, but certainly through somebody within his cabinet who has pull and has a vested interest in trying to push more Saudi investment into America, like an Elon Musk. And like Rory even said himself, he's like, he thinks he's the smartest man in the world, like in the room. So if Rory McIlroy, although his opinion doesn't hold much weight to either one of us, apparently thinks that Elon Musk can easily get this over the finish line. But yeah, like the fact that we have multiple individuals who are golf investees, people who are invested in LIVGolf, who want a reunification of the PGA Tour and LIVGolf. I don't think the matter though really comes down to the players per se. At the end of the day, like we already know, Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, and obviously all the older heads, Graham McDowell, Ian Poulter, like you mentioned, are not really, they haven't hit their stride whatsoever. It's really John Rahm, Bryson, Brooks to a degree. Sergio Garcia has had a resurgence. I don't know how he would fare back on the PGA Tour, but at the very least, the good thing would be that if we do end up having a reunification, we might be able to see these guys back on PGA Tour events relatively soon, even though that it seems to be like LIV would still be separated from the PGA Tour, but there would be less regulations against it with a investment of this magnitude. So we'll see where things lie. Don't really know, but it's fascinating now that we actually do have somebody back in the White House for another 4 more years, who at some point, if it doesn't happen in the next 2 months, could very well and probably will do it in the next year, I would say. The guy has said on the podcast that he would do it in 15 minutes. So we'll have to see.
He says a lot of things.
He does say a lot of things. And again, I'm not getting political.
Neither am I.
On our sides, but
everyone knows though he says a lot of things.
and you know what? I think that's the other interesting side of this too, is that politicians say a lot of things. They go into rooms and they try and push their agendas, and at the end of the day, and I've been saying it for 3 years, 98% of things that happen on the floor of Congress or the House, it's all filibuster. It goes back and forth for forever. If they can't figure out NIL in college sports and it's been 3 years, they're never going to figure out the PGA PIF merger because antitrust law is the last thing anybody wants to talk about when it comes to foreign or domestic issues, particularly when you have two wars possibly waging and America getting neck deep in all that abroad, on top of the fact that we have our own domestic issues that we're trying to fight in this country. Let's be honest, people don't give a rat's ass about golf on the level they do the big four sports, who would probably have more of a chokehold in government, if anything, at that point. But moving on to the other topics of the week, we had lots of movement for the FedEx Cup Fall Series with only 2 events to play. Lots of moving pieces after the Worldwide Technologies Championship. Austin Eckroat gets a big victory shot, had like 11 or 12 birdies in the final round to edge out a few different guys. But with that being said, lots of movement. Joe Highsmith goes from 126 to 112. He finished T4 on the week. Our boy Joel Damon, 124th to 121. Although I will say this, only 4 spots is not a lot of space. I think it's like 65 points is the difference between 121 and 125. So Joel Damon is going to be sweating out the next 2 weeks. However, I believe the numbers were if he finishes top 20 in the next 2 weeks, he will have locked in his tour card. And I believe each of these last 2 sites, he has done really well, particularly here in Bermuda. Danny Berger jumps in from 129 to 124. Dylan Wu, a huge jump from 134 to 126, but actually was going to be 124, but Daniel Berger, birdie on 18 pushed him back to 126, and our bubble boy is Hayden Springer sitting at 125. And your guy, Wesley Bryan, from 138 to 128, could very well see him back on the tour circuit. How about that?
Yeah, initially I was looking at the notes prior. You had him 128 to 138, so I did have to adjust that. You gotta give my guy credit. I mean, he played great. I think
he played really good.
I mean, geez, I think he shot 64 in the 3rd round. I mean, he played some really good golf. Way to go, Wesley, proving me right. I'm up 10-7 in beer money so far this year. This is awesome, you know.
Yeah, I'm getting fucking wrecked right now. Now it was there was a inspiring performance from Wesley Bryan. Shot a really strong 4 rounds out in Bermuda. Nico Echeverria, big top 6 finish. He keeps on moving further up in the rankings. Garrett Higo on the outside looking in. Not the C Young that you'd want to see at the top of the leaderboard, but Carson Young did pretty well as well, finishing T2 with Justin Lower, and Max Greersman also finishing in the top 5. Lot to be done. Only 2 events to go. We'll see how guys fare in Bermuda. We'll talk a little bit more on the other side. We're going to take a short break once you get around the corner. Padraig Harrington, who, by the way, I don't know if you know this, he's been training a lot at Rock Hill Golf Club in Manorville.
Yeah, so there's an instructor out there who's really good.
Yeah, Mike Jacobs. He's Cheng's guy, right?
Chen? Yeah. From St. John's, yeah.
Yeah, absolute stud. He, first of all, great guy. Second of all, Padraig Harrington, if I ever managed to see him at Rock Hill, I want to go play with that guy. He seems like a hell of a lot of fun. Padraig Harrington speaks out against the PGA Tour rules changes that might be coming. Ben, you have something to say?
Well, we're going to break first, aren't we?
Yeah, but you want to say something?
No. Let's go to break, and then yeah.
Oh, I love you, man. Padraig Harrington speaks out against the PGA Tour rules committee. We have some shout outs to go through, and of course, our beer money picks this week. Don't go anywhere from Ben and Steve right here in the underground.
What's going on, everybody? This episode of the Get in the Hole podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Acorn Hills. And as the great Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, the creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn. Acorn Hills Company would like to add, it is what one does with that acorn that creates a better tomorrow, to the end of that quote. Nate, amazing guy. It was awesome meeting Nate when we first brought Acorn Hills on board and they got on board with us. The founder of Acorn Hills puts ink to the paper of this story with a vision he saw for a better tomorrow through clothing. As an outdoorsman himself, Nate set out to combine his 2 passions, looking good and the great outdoors, whatever that activity may be. by providing things such as biodegradable packaging and plantable clothing tags, which, if you haven't heard, are basically the coolest idea ever. We pay homage to our Acorn logo by practicing what we preach. Along with this, Acorn Hills focuses on giving back to its community by taking the initiative to help revitalize forests and areas of land that fill this great place we call Earth. With a percentage of sales donated to charities and organizations such as the National Forest Foundation and others that align with these goals, we create this better tomorrow. People have asked, why choose clothing? It's simple, really. When you look good, you feel good, and when you feel good, you do good. We just help you get there. Although Nate may have been alone when he started this, our roots now run very deep. You'll never look at acorns the same way again, huh? You're welcome. You guys can go to acornhillsco.com. Check out all the awesome apparel and merchandise they have available to you. And when you go to checkout, use code GITH15. That's GITH15 for 15% off your next order from our friends at Acorn Hills. And look your best from the ground up. Now, let's get back into the episode.
Welcome back in to Get in the Hole. Steve and Ben here on a Monday, live in the underground, presented by Acorn Hills, one of the best brands to honestly be a part of not only this network, but also serving the great cause of being able to bring clothing through conservation. Started out of a dorm room in Western PA, like literally from the ground up. Acorn Hills has been dedicated to supporting environmental efforts by offering biodegradable clothing tags and packaging, recyclable material, and for every dollar spent, the National Forest Foundation will plant a seedling to promote afforestation across our great land. Be sure to use code GITH15 for 15% off your next order at acornhillsco.com and look your best from the ground up. Ben, actually, they did a Acorn Hills partnered with another local shop in New Jersey and gave them customized polos. I really want to get us some custom polos to have you rock with the little GITH in the corner. Maybe even get like some like printed stuff, like something you'd be interested in. I think they had I'll send you the photos of theirs. It was like bears. It was really cool.
Okay, so I've been involved with this show since August of 20.
The funding is light. The funding is light. That's all I have to say.
What?
The funding is light. We can't afford to get you polos yet.
So August of 2021, I believe. It is now November of 2024. And we've been talking about these polos for over
again. The funding is light. Golf is at the bottom of the totem pole in the underground. KB, if you're listening, get us some more money.
I don't even know what our funding consists of at this point. I let Steve handle that.
The funding is all the money in my pockets right now.
I just show up with a pretty face and a nice smile, and I just talk golf. That's really all I do. I don't know the inner workings of this operation, but I'm just saying we've been talking about getting Ben Pirro some polos for over 3 years, and it hasn't happened.
Hey man, look, I've been wanting to get a hat forever, and I still don't have mine. So it is what it is. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Let's jump right into Padraig Harrington and what he said this past week while playing in the Charles Schwab Championship Cup. Was talking about he was asked about his opinion on the PGA Tour Player Advisory Council and their 23-page document to tour members last week with their proposal changes potentially for 2026. That vote taking place in a couple of weeks. Of course, the PGA Advisory Council includes both Tiger Woods, Patrick Cantlay, Jordan Spieth, amongst others. They will vote, and apparently they're likely all to be approved, according to a lot of folks within the room, which honestly isn't very surprising because it's going to do exactly what a lot of the top 100 players want, and it's to keep everybody out. The proposal, of course, includes limiting field sizes, removing Monday qualifiers, reducing the number of tour cards that go out across Q School, the KFT, and in the fall series, as well as other benefits from the fall series, including limiting conditional status and signature event status. So Padraig Harrington stepped in he said, you know what? First of all, it's horrible that we're getting rid of these core pieces that have been a part of the tour forever. But surprisingly enough, his biggest takeaway was that he hates the idea of getting rid of Monday qualifiers. Amongst other things, he said he understands the pressure on time getting fields of 156 finished in time. There's obviously some issues with that, but at the same time, slow play is a major issue. He says one of the prominent issues within the game of golf is the idea that there is more parity than ever. So why are we limiting to only the top 100 players? But as you said, the biggest thing he doesn't like is limiting field sizes and Monday qualifiers. Ben, we talked a little bit about this, but as a pro to pro between you and Padraig, what do you think are the keys here that are the most negative to the PGA Tour as a whole, and why do you think that even though a lot of these guys, as you had mentioned in the past, have had to go through Monday qualifiers and had to play from the lower levels to get to where they are, why are they trying to approve something like this, and where is Padraig absolutely right?
I mean, I think Padraig pretty much hit the nail on the head. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the tour Monday qualifiers have been a staple on the PGA Tour for years, and it is what has given the mini tour professional a lot of hope. Because at the end of the day, if you have one really good round, you could be playing in a PGA Tour event. And to someone like Rory, that might not mean a lot, but to that specific player, that could mean a lot. And so, because at the end of the day, when you play in a PGA Tour event, number one, when you Monday qualify into an event and you haven't played the course before, it's incredibly difficult just to make the cut. Okay, the odds are not in their favor, which I do not think that doesn't really help. The fact that doesn't really help, the people who would like to keep them around. But at the end of the day, even though, because basically you have the Monday qualifier on the Monday, obviously, and then you have Tuesday is your practice round, and then Wednesday is the Pro-Am. As a Monday qualifier, you can't play in the Pro-Am, so you're just practicing at the course. And so, really, I mean, if you make the cut, I mean, even if you finish 60th, it's probably 20 grand, 15 to 20 grand, depending on the event. If you finish 60th, that's covering a lot of your expenses for the rest of the year. And even if you miss the cut, I mean, you have so many things at your disposal: reps, club reps, ball reps, clothing reps. The list goes on. And I mean, I remember I had a buddy of mine who he didn't Monday into the Honda. He actually finished top 10 in Puerto Rico, Austin Truslow, and then he got into the Honda as a result. And I mean, there were people like shoving stuff down his throat, like they just want him to take it, And like when a rep gives you a shaft to take, you take it, And so I think it's really a lot of those opportunities now are just going to be gone. And I think it's becoming so much of a boys' club that I think that's really what the PGA Tour is becoming. It's just becoming this glorified boys' club. And what people don't realize is that these guys that want these decisions made, a lot of them are going to age out and they're not going to be relevant in 10 years. Rory McIlroy is not going to be relevant in 10 years. Now, he'll be remembered, and if he plays an event, he'll be popular because of what he's done. But at the end of the day, he's at the end of his prime. And I think he showed that this year. I know he had a very good year overall, but let's be honest, Steve. The first 6 months of the year for him basically were not good at all.
Absolutely not, yeah.
And, like Wyndham Clark, it's like Wyndham Clark's not a star. Wyndham Clark had a good first half, but he was clearly playing second, really third fiddle because it was Scotty, Xander, and then Wyndham, really. Wyndham's not really that good. Wyndham's had good stretches, but he's not nearly as good as a Xander or a Scotty. And so a lot of these guys who are making these decisions now, they're not going to be relevant. And then what happens after that? And so I really think, I don't know what psychologically what's going through their heads in these decisions. I don't think, I don't remember if I said this or not. I don't know if I said that, that they're scared to play.
I don't think you can get to that level, to the highest level of the sport, and be scared to compete and be scared of competition. But I don't understand for the life of me why we're making something that is one of the most difficult things in the world to do. It's already more difficult than it was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to Mike Bender about this, and Mike Bender played in the PGA Tour for 3 years. Okay. In the mini tours alone, you could play a 2-day tournament and shoot a 147. That's, what is that, like 70, averaging a 73.5?
Yeah.
You go out and shoot 73.5, 2 straight rounds, basically. You're not making money at all. You could shoot a 147 30 years ago for 2 days, and you would get your money back. Now, you're not even making anything. You're not getting a third of your money back. And so I mean, I've had several people who have played at high levels who are much older than me. They've said, you guys are far better than what we were 25 to 30 years ago. It's a joke. It's hard enough as it is. And as a result, they made it harder because they got rid of the PGA Tour they got rid of PGA Tour Q School, the actual PGA Tour Q School. Now it's the Korn Ferry Tour, and if you finish 5th in ties, yeah, then you can make it to the tour, to the big boy tour. And then the competition's better. And now you have these elevated events. So if you're just a normal tour member, a lot of times you're not even going to get into those. So you're already at a disadvantage as it is. I think that they've already made it really difficult. I don't think they need to make it any more difficult. I really hope that this rule doesn't get passed. But at the end of the day, with who's running the show, unfortunately, it's going to screw over a lot of guys. And it's actually going to screw over a lot of guys who are on tour this year. Because people don't realize, I think I said this last week or maybe the week before, when you lose your tour card, you have an opportunity to go play in every single Monday qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
So, like what? Hypothetically, like if, like look, like a guy like, say, Wesley Bryan, even if he doesn't finish top 125, he's still going to get starts for next year because he has conditional status now. But a guy that finished 200th, he's going to go back to Korn Ferry Q School. He's going to go back to the Korn Ferry Tour. And then, God forbid, he loses his card on Korn Ferry. Even those guys that are going to lose their card this year on Korn Ferry, they're going to go back to Q School, and they're not going to make it because that's what happens. Some guys don't end up getting their card back. A lot of them will go that route and play as many Mondays as possible throughout the year. They'll fly to Texas. They'll fly to California. And what, you're just not going to have Monday qualifiers now? So what are those guys supposed to do? Like, they have zero semblance of any status at all.
Yeah.
And I think it's the biggest fuck you to that the bigger names. Sorry, my dad just texted me.
Okay.
I think it's the biggest fuck you that the bigger names can give to the guys who are on tour that aren't household names and the guys that are trying to get on tour. It's one of the hardest things in the world to do. I don't really think we need to make it any more difficult than it already is.
I think there's 3 things that are at play, and I understand the committee's idea on, all right, yeah, we limit tour numbers, we limit field sizes, we get rid of Monday queues. All of a sudden, okay, pace of play gets faster, and guys can operate at their same pace, and we can finish before sundown every single day, and I have to be up at 7:00 in the morning to finish the second round of the Sanderson Farm Championship. All right, I get it. At the same time, though, again, like you said, the cut line on average on the PGA Tour, not including the majors because they're always bloated, is like 6 under par. The average fall cut line this year has been 6 under. Like that's an insane number to have to go out, even if you were to Monday Q and just try and get into the event. It's insane. What Padraig Harrington made a point about that I think actually is a really interesting thing that should be happening, and not that it isn't plausible, but similar to the Korn Ferry Tour, the PGA Tour needs to have something that falls between the PGA Tour and the Korn Ferry Tour. Have a secondary tour or have a secondary circuit of events aside from what's happening on the PGA Tour every single week to give players who might not be in that top 100 an opportunity to still play in big time events. You could you look at it in terms of like soccer, right? Like European soccer, right? There's the English Premier League is the top flight league in England. Then they have the Championship, and then the Championship 2, and it trickles down from there. In Germany, they have the Bundesliga, and then the Bundesliga 2. They have the Serie A in Italy, the Serie B, which is in Italy. You're telling me that the PGA Tour can't find 20 more sites to go and host a PGA Tour event, secondary field? At the very least, you have to have one probably for the signature events, because the top 75 players are only playing in that. So what's happening to everybody else? Everyone else loses the opportunity to go play there. Yes, they have events out in Myrtle Beach, and they have the Barracuda, and they had what was the Barbasol, and all these other events, but there's 6 on the whole year. Like, it isn't enough for a lot of these guys to be able to do it. And it's the exact reason why we have the FedEx Fall. We could literally axe the idea of the FedEx Fall and take all of the events that we run from September to November and push them in to the PGA Tour calendar and play the Sanderson Farm in March, if you really wanted to, as a secondary field event. People are going to go to it. It's going to be an event people are going to want to take part in. They had, 30,000 fans in the middle of Mobile, Alabama. They averaged 25,000 fans in Silvis, Illinois for the John Deere that most big-time pros don't even play in. So when you factor in all of these different things, and it makes sense what Patrick's saying, if they had a secondary tour that gave more opportunities to everybody else, and then I can logically say, all right, you know what? Maybe having the top 100 players stays up there, and you have a relegation system, much like soccer. The top 100 players stick, or top 75 players stick, and the bottom 25 get relegated. Top 25 from the other league get bought up. It's a constant moving of pieces. So you know what? The top players, they can always be there. Rory McIlroy will be there for the next 10 years. He might be like Justin Rose, and by the time he's turning 50, he'll still be good enough to be in that top 75. But the reality is, he might not be. And then he goes on and he does his thing, or he retires, or he goes to the Champions Tour like everybody else does. I'm looking at Data Golf, and you look at the top 100 players based on their rankings. Let's just say, now obviously not every player on this list is a full-time PGA Tour member. Some of them play a lot of their time on the DP World Tour, like an Aaron Rai or a Robbie McIntyre. But like in this instance, right, top 100 players, Jordan Spieth isn't a top 100 player in the world, according to this list. Max Homa barely makes the list. He's like 96th. There are guys who are spread out on this list. Keith Mitchell, who I would argue should probably be in signature events, has not been in any, has had a rough stretch. Nikolai Højgaard isn't in this category. Cameron Davis, Justin Rose. There are some really good golfers who don't fit under the top 100 players in the world. And of course, that's obviously due to FedEx Cup points. It isn't because of Data Golf rankings, but they relatively correlate. What good is the game of golf if you're going to limit those guys who maybe have had a bad stretch of rounds, even like Ricky Fowler, who last year had a resurgence as the comeback player of the year, or Justin Thomas, who finished outside of the top 75 2 years ago, very well may not have an opportunity. Of course, he won majors and everything else, but had he not won those things, possibly wouldn't have a tour card. Ricky Fowler lost his tour card 2 years ago. He's actually in doubt of losing it this year. So, like, you have situations like that. Sorry, you're right. He's exempt for 2 more years. There are guys across the board who have rough stretches and are at risk of losing tour cards. Jason Day was once at risk. Ricky Fowler again. Justin Thomas. There are names who they just don't play well. Minwoo Lee very well might be at risk in a year and a half if he doesn't start becoming the top player that he is supposed to be. Jordan Spieth, another kind of idea. Like, there's a lot of guys here who it's going to royally bite them in the ass if they try and do this, and all of a sudden, in the first 2 years of its existence, don't meet the bar. And it very well could happen. I think it's ridiculous, and they need alternatives to help everybody else instead of pushing the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor kind of narrative.
You know, I think it's so funny that one of their sticking points, one of their talking points, is they want to speed up pace of play. You know how you speed up pace of play? You actually enforce the pace of play rules. It's pretty simple.
And you penalize guys and you make them lose money.
Yeah, and you actually penalize guys. It's the one rule in golf that they don't enforce. I cannot tell you how many times I've sat there and it's taken 6 hours to play a round of golf in a tournament, and then we turn around the next day and we're playing at the exact same pace, and they're like, "Hey, you guys have to speed it up," and we're just like, "Okay." Yesterday, you told us that yesterday no one said boo to the fact that everyone out here took 6 hours to play. Okay, but now all of a sudden you guys are up all of our asses that we have to play in 4.5 hours. That doesn't make any sense. I think it's really, I really think like, and Brooks Koepka's been adamant about it. I argued with an official about it before. Um, I mean, it's wild. It's insane to me. I mean, I remember I was playing a pre-qualifier for the RSM 2 years ago, and this kid, I mean, he was I mean, I'm talking, he's laying up on a par five. He literally he took over 5 minutes to hit the layup.
It's ridiculous.
Over 5 minutes, and he had a caddy too. And I went over an official and I was like, I don't really know what's going on right here. I said, but this guy's taking forever. And I said, and you're sitting here and you're not doing anything about it. And the guy didn't even tell the kid to speed up. He wrote something down on a note, and basically put it on the kid's bag. It's basically what he said. That's basically his version of telling him to speed it up. It is one of the dumbest rules ever. Either you're going to enforce it or you're not, and you need to start enforcing it. Trust me, I don't want to be out there for 6 hours. No one wants to be out there for 6 hours, because by the time you get there, you have to do stretching, yoga, run, whatever. That's 30 minutes. You warm up for an hour 15, so that you're looking at, and by the time you get to the course, all that combined, that's 2 hours. Okay, then you have to play. Let's hope it takes you 5.5 hours. That's 7.5 hours. Okay, and then you have to go eat, and then usually you practice after anyway for at least an hour. That's a full day, and no one wants to be there for that long. No one. It's one of the most simple. I don't understand why they just don't have people on at the tour level, every single hole, wherever a tee shot is hit, wherever an approach shot is hit, wherever a putt is hit, and they're timing guys. And they have an app where they can say, hypothetically, hey, Justin Thomas had 2 bad times on this hole. On hole 2. If he has whoever gets him if he gets another bad time, that's his 3rd bad time, he gets a penalty stroke. Whatever. And you don't even notify them. I wouldn't. And then you make them realize after the round, holy shit, I'm so slow. Guys won't like it. But at the end of the day, it's like that's part of the problem with golf. And I find it so funny. It's like having a professor grade your essay. Okay? There's not really much of a criteria. The criteria isn't like, it's not like by the book when it comes to grading an essay.
Yeah.
Well, that's how pace of play is in golf. I'm like, I mean, geez, I've seen it before. I'm just like, wait a minute. How am I getting put on the clock? Meanwhile, this kid's taking forever to play golf. And he's taking forever to go through his routine. Why are you talking to me about this? Or why are you talking to our group about this? Where for the first 13 holes of the day, we had to wait. Now all of a sudden we have to speed up. That doesn't make any sense. And so I really do believe that if they want to just fix the pace of play thing, you literally have, whether it's a volunteer or an official, the PGA Tour can do this. They have the pockets to do it. They have the resources. Every single point where a professional golfer is hitting a shot from, you time the routine. You give them a stopwatch. If it's however much time you're going to allow, 45 seconds, a minute, 30 seconds, I don't care. And then if they go over X number of times, they get a penalty. And then if they do it again, they get another penalty. That's how it should be. It really needs to be that cut and dry. And then I guarantee you will not see nearly as many instances of guys having to go back out and complete their 2nd round or 3rd round the next morning. And really, the only time that would even happen is if there's a weather issue. and that's a completely different scenario.
So, a couple of things. What the average you get 40 seconds per shot, right?
I think it's 45.
All right, we'll call it 40 to 50 seconds, depending on. I think like certain shots you get extra time, but by a couple of seconds. The average tour player hits their shot in 38 seconds. What are you doing? Aside, first of all, you can go to the 15-second waggles from Jason Duffner and Brian Harmon. That could be one thing. But I understand the idea of, all right, you want to assess what you're doing, practice shot, do your whole thing, take your shot. The average pace of play is I think 14 and a half minutes for a foursome, or for a threesome, it's 13 and a half minutes on the PGA Tour. Why is it that the average pace of play on tour this year was 18 and a half minutes, 5 minutes more per hole than what the PGA Tour suggests? Could it also just be, why can't we give them some technology that they're able to use where everyone can use it to keep pace going? Like, is there a reason why we spend astronomically more time on the putting green than we do in the fairway? I mean, it's obvious. You have to, the most important shot falls in the green. If you get there in 2 and you're putting for an eagle on a par 5, I totally get it. But then, why did we outlaw green reading books that have the slope and everything to work with?
Well, the issue with the slope, with the green reading books and everything, that didn't really speed up pace. That really didn't help pace of play. I mean, I remember specifically, the guys. The reason why they were outlawed was because they felt that it was taking away from the art of putting, because you didn't actually have to read a green.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I think it's bogus. I really think it's simple. You say, hey, we're going to give you this tour issued yardage book. Okay. It's basically a Straka book or Putt View, whatever you fancy. Those are really the 2 main ones that I can think of. It's tour issued. Everything's drawn to scale. Everything's computerized to scale. Fine. Use that. I think I really do believe could it potentially, maybe, but then you get someone like Bryson, and I remember there was an incident where Bryson took forever to hit an 8-foot putt, and I don't remember if it was before or after they outlawed the green reading books. Something's telling me
it was before, because he read way too he read way too much into it, and he tried to use aim point. He didn't like the aim point. They read the book, and it's a whole fucking production.
That's the thing. And so that doesn't really help the case. But again, you give the guys the books, okay? Because it was helping him score. It was, in theory, it should help you play better, because you're not just using your eyes and your feet, but then also you have someone timing you on the green, just like you'd have someone timing you from the fairway.
Yeah.
Give them lasers. They use them they use them in the PGA Championship. Use them. No one gives a shit at this point. The MLB's going to automated umpires. Okay. Honestly.
Why aren't we giving players the tools? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you give them a laser or you give them a green reading book. They all have the same shit. So why can't they just utilize what they have to utilize to be able to play faster? Why is it? And even with aim point now, again, they talk about the art of putting. People complain, oh, aim point takes away from the art of putting. Okay, Adam Scott swears by it. Are you going to penalize him now because you already took away his green reading book that he used for 12 years, and all of a sudden now he just can't use it? People are going to find ways to try and do whatever. It could be a setup issue, whatever it is. Conform the game of golf. You want to see low scores anyways. It's how people enjoy it. Same thing as home runs in baseball, touchdowns in football, 3-pointers in basketball. People want to see bombed drives and low scores, and they want to see it tight. No one wants to see a 7-stroke masterclass run away, because people want to see competition and keep it tight. Why not give guys more of an opportunity to be able to do it? And you're not making them wake up again at the crack ass of dawn at 6:30 in the morning to get to the golf course, practice, and be out there for 7:30 to resume on the 16th hole, when they already know, hey, I got to play 18 more in 3 hours. It's a ridiculous concept that we have to keep on arguing and battering the dead horse over the idea that there are ways to quicken up pace of play. And like I said, if you want to limit tour sizes, go right ahead. Make more events for the rest of the people who can actually qualify into them and play in these events that you can have the top 100, have the next 150, play in a different event. Go for it. Everyone's happy. Everyone can get FedEx Cup points too.
They should just make it 125 for the main PGA Tour, and then the bottom 125 for that, and then you have the Corn Ferry Tour.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the easiest thing.
And you know what? At the end of the day, like if someone ends up dropping out of the top 125 during an event, well, whoever they flip-flopped with or however that ends up working, like, yeah, that's how it. And like, look, you probably have to be, I'm sure that they would incentivize it to where, top 125, the purses would be larger. But I also think that they should keep the FedEx Cup points relatively the same, or really they should keep them the same. Just make the purse sizes different,
Well, I think so. Think of it this way, right? Again, with soccer, the Premier League has, I think, like 20 teams, something like that. Top 5 teams go to the Champions League or the Europa League, which is like the worldwide World Cup essentially for clubs. The bottom 5 teams get relegated into the lower tier, while the top 5 teams from the lower tier get bought up. We should be having that system in golf to be able to have the top 10 or top 15 players in the bottom get dropped out, and from the Corn Ferry Tour get bought up, or again from that secondary tour that they can create. It's what LIVGolf is doing. LIVGolf had the drop zone, guys who are automatically tossed in their teams and have to go into LIVGolf qualifying to even try and get on the free agency list to then get signed by a team. They have the safe zone, they have the warning zone, so they have the system in place. And this is in LIVGolf. There's 48 guys. There's also a demand though for people to go into free agency and draft players and do all this stuff. PGA Tour obviously doesn't have that, but with the membership size that you have, I don't see it out of the question that you can create a secondary tour when you have 220 guys who have tour cards every single year to be able to work around. You have guys who have conditional status or full-time status or exemptions. You can have more Monday queues in secondary events. You can totally ex-nay Monday queues in big-time events, but you have to have something in order to make it equitable and have everybody move up and down. And hey, at the end of the year, when they have the FA Cup for the English Premier League, the FA Cup can be a Division 5 team that has 4,500 fans in a little schlot lot in the middle of nowhere, England, against Liverpool. Why can't we have it so that somebody from the Corn Ferry Tour can make the FedEx Cup playoffs? They're in the lower tier, but if they fight their way, if they fight their way to get there and they follow the criteria to get there, I think it'd be really cool to see someone like Matt McCarty before he ended up joining the PGA Tour to be able to fight against guys like Ludwig Oberg and Rory McIlroy in the FedEx Cup playoffs. That'd be sick. I think it'd be an awesome opportunity for anybody to be able to grow their status and get to where they have to be. Let's jump right into our shouts of the week, brought to you by our boys over at 47 Brand, the newest sponsors with the Getting the Whole podcast. And of course, our entire Underground Sports Philadelphia family. Ben wears them all day long. I rep them constantly. Watched Notre Dame this past weekend, beat up on Florida State, rocking my Notre Dame hat. I even wore one to the store today. 47 is bringing you the absolute best apparel, from hats to shirts and everything in between. Click the link in our bio to get your hands onto 47 gear now. Rep your team, rep your set, whoever you support, anything from soccer to NASCAR to baseball, NCAA, minor league sports, and even soccer, like our boys over Top Ends. Get in on the action at the link in our bio for 47 Brand. We lead off with a little bit of a shout out, a new segment that we have. Shout out to our boys. First of all, I want to shout out Bernard Langer. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do this, but Bernard Langer did not only shoot his age, he beat his age en route to his 47th Champions Tour win at the Charles Schwab Cup. He won the overall Champions Tour for the year. Ben, you could probably do it at some point in your life when you're in your 70s or 60s. I probably never will. Do you think you could break your age?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that. Maybe when I'm like 93.
Yeah, I mean, geez, I don't know, man.
Even then, dude. You know what though? So some of the best golfers I've ever watched are like the old men who just hit their drive 150 and they pull out like 3 wood on the next hole and they hit it pin straight It's amazing to watch, and they putt so well because they've been doing it fucking forever. I love playing with old men on the golf course. It's terrific.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it'd be really cool. Ben, you go.
Okay. Austin Eckroat, he becomes the 5th multi-event winner on tour this season after shooting a final round 63 with 11 birdies to edge out Justin Lower and Carson Young. He joined Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Nick Dunlap. Nick Dunlap's in some really good company right there. Robbie McIntyre and Hideki Matsuyama.
Pretty sick company. If you guys, I didn't even think about how Nick Dunlap went to go win the Amex and then came out to win. I think it was the Barracuda. It was one of the alternate field events. Again, though, why we have alternate field events? Let the young guys cook. But yeah, no, some freaking sick ass company.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty impressive stuff. So good for you, Austin Eckroat. Got a really good swing too. Actually, I saw it in slow motion on Instagram today, maybe yesterday. Pretty good. Happy birthday, John Rahm. Rahm announced he will not be playing the DP World Tour Championship per Andy Roberts of Golf Magic. Rahm has been able to maintain his DP World Tour membership after appealing his fines for joining LIV and has fulfilled his 4-event minimum this year. That's pretty wild that they only have a 4-event minimum.
I think it's kind of messed up. I think what I find really interesting is that Rahm is opting to skip out on the final in Dubai. Do you think that like ruins his not like reputation, but like he should be playing in the final? He's won it 3 times in the past. Do you think it's kind of messed up that he isn't there?
No. It's the beauty about golf. That's the beauty about golf. You're your own boss. You can do whatever you want.
True that. I appreciate that from John Rahm. What I don't appreciate is Rory McIlroy, the never-ending chokehold of this podcast that we could just beat up like a punching bag. Rory announced that he plans to drastically change his work schedule next year. Because why does Rory McIlroy need to have less time on his hands? He's apparently planning on skipping out of the Cognizant Cup, which was formerly the Honda, the RBC Heritage, which would be his one signature event of the year, but also the FedEx St. Jude playoff event. Rory missing the first playoff event? That seems kind of ballsy.
I don't know if I should say this. I don't know how much of public knowledge it is. I don't know.
Give us the tea.
I don't know if you told me this or not. Someone told me this, and I genuinely don't remember who said it. But part of the reason why he and his wife had initially filed for divorce was because she was unhappy with how often he was gone.
Makes sense.
Which, I'm just going to be completely honest with you. Telling a professional golfer to play less golf is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You kind of know what you're getting right there.
Hey, honey, do most of your job.
I believe his wife was involved with the PGA Tour as well. That's how they met.
Yeah, I think so.
So don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure so. But based on what I've heard, and that's very much a popular belief, and I've seen it on social media. You cannot believe everything you see on social media, on the news. Don't believe everything that you see. But I have heard it from people who I trust that are like, yeah, like that was one of the reasons why, and basically like they were able to come to an agreement because now they're not getting divorced. Yeah. And so I find it so interesting. I mean, look, he doesn't really he skipped the RBC Heritage before. He's not going to play the Cognizant. Like he doesn't really have an incentive to play the Cognizant. Like, yeah, I get it. He's down the street basically. No one, look, like that event, the fact that it's not even called the Honda anymore, it lost a lot of star value just because the name is that's just something. But skipping the FedEx St. Jude, as long as that's still a playoff event, which I don't see why it wouldn't be, that's just stupid. I don't know. Maybe this is part of his agreement with his wife that he's going to play less, but at the end of the day, he doesn't even play that much anyway. I mean, Jesus. I mean, you know what? Like, he ended up playing the Zurich Classic this year, which he won with Shane Lowry. It was a Mickey Mouse win. Congratulations. you could have done without that one, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and so did it technically spearhead him into playing better the rest of the year? Yeah. But I just he did play better after that. But
Doing what? We're winning the Wells Fargo for the 18th time in his career. Like, what the fuck, dude?
hey,
Which, by the way, how have we not put our futures bets down already on Rory to win the PGA Championship?
hey, look, Tiger Woods won at Torrey Pines like 7 times or something. Like there are horses.
Ponies.
What's that?
One-trick ponies exist.
No, never say Tiger's a one-trick pony.
Oh no, not saying that at all.
But I just find honestly, like I genuinely think that that's the reason why, because she wasn't happy with how much he was playing, and it's just kind of like
I wouldn't be shocked.
Like what's that?
I wouldn't be shocked.
I mean, I've been in relationships before where they've been like, "Oh, you practice too much," and I'm like, "Well, it's my job, so I mean, I don't really know what you want me to do about this." So,
I think what screwed up. What's screwed up about the whole thing, I think it's less like, all right, you're already allowed to skip one signature event a year. All right, so fine, you don't play the RBC Heritage, whatever. But to skip out on the FedEx St. Jude, which being the first playoff event, you really need to play really fucking well the entirety of the year to be able to be like, hey, like I can still stay in the top 50 and not play this event at all. Or at least in the playoffs, you play the event, you finish, even you make the cut, you're still locked in to the top 50 if you're a top 10 player in the world. I feel like that's just ballsy. You can easily make up time somewhere else in the calendar to skip out on. But for the PGA Tour, there are certain events you can't miss. I feel like the playoffs should not be an event that you want to miss, particularly when the purses are $25 million.
Well, he's also had some pretty questionable decisions before, so I don't know. But regardless,
that is true. But you know what? Screw Rory McIlroy because he's the eternal punching bag of this show. We're getting right into the beer money picks this week for the Butterfield Bermuda Championship presented by our boys over at Kenwood Beer. You know, Saquon Barkley had prior to this week never beaten the Cowboys. Did you know that?
Well, yeah, because he was stuck with that other shitty franchise in New York because they both suck.
Yep. Well, even though he has never beaten the Cowboys, they beat them so bad, Saquon got to sit, and you know who got to play? Our boy, Kenwood Gainwell. Hopped in, had 30 really good rushing yards out in Dallas. And you could be just like Kenny Gainwell. Maybe, I don't know, probably not. If you drink Kenwood Beer, the best light beer out on the market, located locally and sourced right out here in New Jersey. You can pick them up anywhere from New Jersey to Maryland, Pennsylvania, and now Delaware. Go to the Kenny Tracker, kenwoodbeer.com. Find yourself some ice cold Kenwood beer, the best light beer since light beer. And let's get right in to the beer money plays. Top 20, Benny, we lead off with you as I need a good week to get the freaking ball rolling. Who do you like at the Butterfield Bermuda Championship?
Top 20, I'm going to go with Rico Oye, or Owe. He's had a really good year. I think he's a little bit older than I am, but so I remember following his career in high school, and it was just like, yeah, this guy's going to be a tour player. And he is, and he's really good. And so I like him for a top 20 over there in Bermuda. I really do.
I had Rico for a top 10, but now I have to remove him because I can't be betting on myself to take him higher than you're taking him. I'm going to go with the recent winner and recent top 10 finisher this past week, Nico Echeverria. How he's priced at like plus 200 is like ridiculous. So like it's a home run. That should honestly just be the gimme. I should just double down at this point. But Echeverria has not necessarily had the best results here in Bermuda, but at the same time, we've seen guys like Joaquin Niemann early in his career, Mito Pereira, another name, Sebastian Munoz, guys from South America with very similar swing styles, dominate a golf course like this. Again, resort style golf course in Port St. Royal. It fits the kind of motive here. A lot of breeziness with I think 8 of the 18 holes being right on the water on the way back to the clubhouse. Echeverria plays really well in those windy conditions. So I like Nico for a top 20 this week. Top 10, who you got?
Top 10. Look, I'm kind of surprised this guy's as low as he is on the odds boards. He did finish tied for second last.
Sorry, you totally cut out. What'd you say?
I said I'm pretty surprised that this individual is as low on the totem pole, as low on the odds boards as he is. He finished tied for second last week. He's playing well. I'm gonna go with Carson Young.
All right, thank you. Sorry, yeah. For some reason, you totally cut out, and I don't know if it's a Wi-Fi issue. Top 10 for me, I'm gonna go with Justin Lauer. Pretty low on the odd board. Has had a really strong run so far this fall. He's been pushing his way up into the top 100. He finished T2 last week. Has been on an absolute tear. I like Lauer for a top 10 at a golf course where he's had some success early in his career, but has never had a run like he's had now. So Justin Lauer, top 10. Top 5, who you got?
Wait, did you hear me? Did you hear what I said for my top 10?
Yeah, Carson Young.
Okay, good. Okay. So for my top 5, oh man, this is a tough one. I'm gonna go with Doug Gim for a top 5. I think he's really good. Yeah.
I was hoping that you would say Doug Gim.
Why?
He has back-to-back missed cuts at this event.
Yeah, but it's a get right week for him, so I don't care.
Yeah, I hear that. I appreciate that. I'm gonna go under the radar name, young guy, recently turned pro, as of 3 years ago, out of the University of Louisville, Matty Schmid for a top 5 this week. Young guys and old play really well at this golf course in the past. Brian Gay has won here. Seamus Power has won here. But we've also seen, much like events like the Zozo or like the Puerto Rico Open, a lot of really young names play well down here in the Caribbean, and they put their name out and they finally make a name for themselves on tour. He has 3 top 10s in 2024. He finished number 125 on the FedEx rankings. He's 91st right now in the fall series. I think Matty Schmid's gonna have a really strong week here. A top 5 finish for his first of his career. Your gimme pick. What you got?
I'm doubling down on Wesley Bryan, man. I'm gonna go with Wesley Bryan for a top 25. He needs it. He needs another good week. He's 128th right now in the FedEx Cup standings. He was tied for 6th last week. He's been playing well. I know just his brother George is actually in the field, I think, this week. So that'll be pretty entertaining. I believe he is. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing those two brothers play. But Wesley Bryan, top 25.
I would love to see a Brian Bros tee time. That'd be actually kind of sick.
Yeah.
The tour would never allow it, but they'd be like shooting content like on the course. Let's see who beats who. My gimme play this week, he's currently 134th in the rankings. He has some room to work. He swapped spots with Wesley Bryan from last week. A really strong week at a golf course that he's played well in the past. Could be huge. I'm going with China's very own Carl Yuan for a big top 30 finish here. That'll push him up towards that 125 spot going into the RSM next week. Who do you have to win the Butterfield Bermuda Championship?
I'm going to go with Mackenzie Hughes. He's plus 1,600. He's leader on the odds, tied for first in the odds boards. Mac Hughes, baby, all day.
So I'm going to ride with, I'm pulling up his recent results. It's funny. I wanted to take him for a top 10 last week, and I didn't. And I don't know what compelled me to not do it. What ended up happening was I was caught up in the idea that he was at the time the 125th guy on the bubble. He was right there. He was waiting. He moved up a bit after a big T5 finish. The last 3 weeks, though, top 6, top 16, and a 5th place finish. Guys who play really well out who play really well what used to be in Mayakoba, but now in Aruba. Not Aruba, I apologize. In Mexico, in Cabo, play really well in Bermuda as well. It used to be the exact same thing for Mayakoba. With that being said, Joe Highsmith from Pepperdine, the man with the visor, 24 years old, looking for his first PGA Tour victory. I got Joe Highsmith for the big win to follow up on 3 really strong weeks in his first full-time season on the PGA Tour. Ben, any final thoughts before we hit the road?
Nothing, man. It's a good episode. I got nothing. I'm exhausted. Long day today.
Neither do I, bro. I am absolutely pooped. I got work tomorrow. I got a big company meeting. Not looking forward to it. And I've been grinding Call of Duty like a motherfucker. Me and Kyler Murray have been going off so far. By the way, Kyler Murray went off on the Jets last week.
Yeah, look, you know what? I had this conversation with Johnny about this. He was like hell bent on the Jets going like 11-6, 12-5, and I was like,
That's so Johnny too.
don't understand. This team needs everything to go right. They fired the head coach, who was the best coach on their staff, which then spreads the defensive coaching staff thin. Then you demote Hackett and elevate the old Tennessee OC, which he was going to do anyway before you fired him. Then you bring back your pass rusher. You trade for Devontae. Then you get rid of Mike Williams, who had a touchdown catch yesterday. Huge catch. You're not giving Breece Hall the ball at all. It's just this team. I don't even really follow them. And I honestly, like a couple of years ago, I got so sick and tired of them. I even unfollowed them on Instagram.
The Jets lost a loyal follower.
Like I genuinely don't know what to say. They are one of the most poorly run franchises by one of the most sensitive owners. And I've sat in a van near Woody Johnson one time. I did not like his energy at all. I did not.
He's that way.
He just strikes me as just like a curmudgeon old man. Like,
what a good word.
I know, right?
Great word.
You know, I've been reading a lot, Steve. Just kidding. I have not been reading much at all.
SAT words in this freaking show. I love it.
Oh my god.
I freaking love it. No,
I'm sick and tired. I mean, dude, like, you know what? I'm a Nets fan. They're not going to be any good this year. That's fine. I'm an Islanders fan. They're like not going to be that good this year. Like, you know, maybe they're a wild card team, whatever. Like the Mets, you know, baseball's over. The Mets had a really good run this year. I don't really put a lot of time into football just because it's such a clusterfuck over there. Yeah. It really is. It's such a clusterfuck. Like it's gotten to the point where I used to do this with the NBA before the NBA product just like kind of went to shit, where I was just like, yeah, like I'm a Nets fan, but I just like would root for players that I liked. Because I felt like that was more. Now I just root for players that I like in the NFL. Like, cause it's like, yeah, I'm a Jets fan, but like at the end of the day, it's like I'm happy to see Kyler Murray playing well. I genuinely like watching when Kyler Murray is on. He is one of the most entertaining football players to watch. Like I genuinely enjoy watching, like looking up and seeing, you know, Jamar Chase playing well, Joe Burrow playing well, or Justin Jefferson playing well. Like I genuinely enjoy watching guys like that just like go off. Like even like Saquon. But it's gotten to the point where the Jets, I'm so over it. It's just like they need to just get rid of everything. I mean, not everything. I mean, you keep Breece, but like you keep Garrett Wilson, you know, but like at the end of the day, like I don't even think Sauce is having like that good of a year. So it's just I'm kind of over it, dude. I really am. I really am over it at this point.
You know, football's been great because the Giants suck, so I can just coast and I can become a fantasy fan, and I can coast as much as this little kid, what he was just coasting on life.
You were something else, you know.
Bro, I had the Velcros. I was sick back in the day. Anyways, that's going to do it for us here on Getting the Hole, episode 180. Ben, we're vastly approaching episode 200. I think actually 200 might come at the Masters if we time things just right. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe on all social medias at Getting the Hole Pod, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and the like. Follow us on Spotify right here on Apple Podcasts, as well as YouTube at Underground Sports PHI and Getting the Hole. Be sure to leave a comment, subscribe to us, leave that 5-star review, and vote in our poll every single week. The engagement is huge for the brand. Subscribe to Underground Sports Philadelphia and all the podcasts on our network. And with that being said, for Ben Pirro, I'm Steve McAvoy. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the golf over at the Butterfield Bermuda Championship. We are 2 events away from the end of the season, and we're right around the corner from Thanksgiving, my absolute favorite holiday. Thanks for listening to Get in the Hole, the official golf podcast of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Catch us every week wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and be sure to like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Get in the Hole Pod, and follow Underground Sports Philadelphia at Underground PHI. We'll see you next time, and remember, get in the hole!